Hi, this is Shirish Kulkarni, founder and CEO of STROTA Consultech. Have been in this business for last 5 years, helping small and medium businesses to succeed, grow. In this initiative called as HATKE, we're talking to various personalities, individuals, business owners, industrialists, individuals who have maybe taken a different type of career, spent time in a different way, have been mattered for industry in a different way, or been in the industry of a completely different type. So we have great privilege to have Ketan Malkhare today. Ketan, great to have you on this platform.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shirish. I'm very honored. Thank you very much for having me here.
Wonderful. So Ketan comes from something which conventionally we call it as Marchant Navy. Having spent around 28 years in this space, some portion of it, major portion of it on the sea, some portion of it onshore, and managing this gimmick of sailing on the waves as such. Right from 12th standard, he has been doing this. So it is like great thing that it's completely hatke, I believe. Ketan, great to see you doing this. Can you just outline?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great to be here, Shirish. Thank you very much for this opportunity. We all know people who are in this line of work. We all hear about them. Somebody, oh, where is he? He's gone to ship. Okay, where is he? When is he going to come back? He's going to come back after 6 months. And what does he do? That part is a little bit different. What does he do is a little bit tricky because not many people who have not been on the ship or who have not seen a ship would be able to imagine what a person does on a ship. So that part would definitely be of interest to some people who are desirous to know.
Right, right. It in itself, if I look at sea, whenever I go to seashore, looking at the waves itself, it's absolutely soothing and challenging, as we look at it. But tell me, in that small age, I call it as, age of 18 or being in 12th, what went into your mind to select this kind of an adventurous things? And also there would be some back and forth with the family?
Oh, yes. Well, definitely family encouragement is absolutely critical. Without their encouragement, I don't think I would have been able to take such a step. The other things are, of course, when you are 18 years of age, you've got stars in your eyes, and you hear things about different walks of life. In those days, other than being a doctor or an engineer, the third option did not really come to mind. People spoke of things like going into the National Defense Academy, and some also spoke of being an architect, those who were a little bit good in drawing, which I was at that time.
Okay.
So that was also one option which was there in consideration. But this particular profession, which was obviously what we know as Merchant Navy, was something that had a certain hidden glamour. And that unfortunately turned out to be a myth. But
okay,
we'll come to the myth part later. Yes. But definitely there is glamour. There is the hidden glamour, which we don't really know whether it is glamour or not. We don't really come to know sitting ashore. But when you're 18, you definitely have certain desire to do something. Something would matter, something that would be different. In those days, since there was no internet, there was no flow of information technology was very limited. There was very hardly any information available as to what one does.
Right.
We would hear stories. Then I would go out to meet people. My father would take me to meet people who had been there.
Right.
Who were stalwarts in the industry at that point in time. And they would tell stories that would be really thrilling, that would be really inspiring, that would make you feel that you have to go on the ship tomorrow. And they would also tell stories which will make you really scared. And things like, oh, if there is a fire on the ship, if the ship sinks, if this happens, that happens, if you get injured, if you feel homesick, And well, uh, how much ever you can imagine, you really can't get to that point of imagination until you've been there.
Wonderful. So nicely put, Ketan. But what was that trigger point in your mind? So glamour definitely at the age of 18, we get completely sucked into it. Was that the
Yeah.
only thing, or you had something else in mind?
Well, let's say it this way. I come from a family where, of course, there is a precedence of doing well let's say, academics.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, I would not say that I was very clever in academics in the
Mm.
sense of the conventional way of saying things.
Mm.
And I knew that I did not want to be an engineer.
Wow.
I wanted to be something else. Now, what that something else
But
is,
yeah.
it's definitely a search which everybody goes through, that struggle that I want to be this or I want to be that. And mostly people come to know that I don't want to be this. But
Ah, okay.
fortunately, I had this thing that which my father had always encouraged me at that time, that, okay, try this. This is something which you can do. This is
But yeah.
something which you will be able to succeed at. Because
Mm.
you have that thing and you have that spark in you and this and that. And he gave me a lot of encouraging lectures. And I listened to that carefully. And then I said, yes, yes, we have to take a dive. If I want to be somebody, we have to take a dive, do something different. Otherwise, you'll be lost in the ocean of people that are not seen anywhere.
Wonderful. Nicely put. I think what I am getting as a message is definitely looking at the conventional ways of doing things and looking at something which is unique and inspiring, though challenging at times, but picking that as a choice and diving into it. I think that's the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. To make that decision, it's all right to say, sit in the comfortable chair of the living room of your father's house, and then talk about going to sea. But it's a different thing that when somebody tells you, okay, pack your bags, tomorrow you're leaving,
Mm.
then घरातनं पाय निघणं थोडंसं अवघड
Oh,
जातं.
well, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to that moment, I think it is definitely a tough decision. So hats off to your decision. But now we're talking about various training programs, and salute to you to be a captain of the ship. Wonderful achievements, and I believe you have a highest certificate of competence, the masters. So
That,
tell us something about it, Ketan.
well, everybody dreams of being a captain, whoever is at sea. I mean, on the deck side, there are two sides. One is the navigation side, which we call it as the deck side. The other one is the engineering side.
Uh-huh.
So the person who rises up to become the captain is usually from, or rather not usually, it is always from the deck side. Now, why is it so? I'm sorry, I'm not able to give a good answer for
That's
that, but
fine.
those are the rules. There is a person from the engineering side as well who rises up to become the chief engineer.
Chief engineer. Okay.
And he is almost equal to being a captain, except that he does not have the command of the ship. But he has
Understood.
the overall responsibility of all machinery on the ship. Now, there's so much of machinery on the ship. So there are boilers, there is the main propulsion unit, which is the main engine, a very, very large ship. You'll have very, very large engines. There are generators to give power supply. There are boilers to make steam. There is a freshwater generator to make water. There's a huge air conditioning system, and so on and so forth. We can go on talking about machinery. There's no end to it. But he's the person. The chief engineer is the person who is the one in charge, and he has got a separate team for that altogether. A highly competent team of marine engineers to look after the ship's machinery. Because nowadays, the ships are not like in the old days where we had sailing ships and they used to not have any propulsion system other than oars and sails.
Oh, okay.
Now we have got ships which run on engines, and those engines have got propulsion systems which run on, they're like diesel engines. But only thing is that they don't use diesel, they use something else. They use something we call as bunker fuel.
Okay.
And that bunker fuel is an extremely, how should I say, a dirty product. something that you cannot use in any other form of industry.
Kind of tar look like
A little better than tar.
better.
A
Okay.
little better than tar. In the fractional distillation column, what comes above tar is this.
Okay. Right.
So uh, that's the kind of thing that happens on the ship, uh, which we don't come to know sitting here, of course.
Right. Right. So going asking a very naive question, Ketan, what are the different types of ships? I mean, my knowledge is also limited, so asking this question.
Yeah, different types. Oh well, there's so many types. We often think of ships as either naval ships. It's a very common question, what kind of, oh, he's a merchant navy? Okay. What kind of ship? Very few people will dare to ask that question. What kind of ship? Because people know either cruise ships, which are meant for luxury vacationing, or people know naval ships. Now, when you speak of merchant ships or commercial ships, firstly, they're very large. They are quite big. I mean, they can be small also. It's not necessary that all of them have to be big. But the scale and the magnitude is really sometimes overwhelming.
Okay.
You think of any commodity and you want to transport that commodity from one part of the world to another part of the world. There is a ship for it. We have ships which can transport gases in bulk, huge quantities of gases, various kinds of gases. We have ships which can transport acids in liquid form, a large number of chemicals. We have ships that can transport oil in bulk, which we also know. And those are the most, I think, most heard of ships in terms of commercial ships. We have ships that can carry cement, that can carry coal, which are called as dry bulk cargo ships. Then we have these container ships, which can carry anything, right from furniture to any piece of machinery to anything that can fit into a container can be carried on a container.
Right, right.
And I can go on about it. We have ships that can carry cattle as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a a question that comes to my mind. What is the most expensive thing that you've carried on the ship?
The most expensive thing? Okay. The most expensive thing definitely is black gold that I've carried, which is oil. If you, I do not know how to put the scale or magnitude into display unless and until you've seen it, but it's a really large ship which can carry something like the one that I was on was over 300,000 tons. Now, how to put this into perspective?
Some stories, some 5 stories building or 10 stories?
Well, you can say 3 football fields lengthwise is the length of the ship. And then the breadth is 1 football field breadth, and the depth is something like 30 meters or so depth, which is just the cargo capacity.
Oh my goodness!
And this thing actually moves on the water.
And that speed is also in knots, or I don't know.
The speed is in knots. Yeah, it comes to somewhere roughly around 30 kilometers an hour.
Wow, such a heavy thing that you're moving.
Yeah, so it's a large momentum. And it takes a while to start, it takes a while to stop, such a thing moving on water. Unfortunately, the thing is, Shirish, that this profession is one of the most invisible professions on the planet, or you can say obscure professions on the planet, where very little is seen or heard about it unless and until somebody like me is known to somebody who is not like me. Otherwise, there's rarely any media coverage. There is rarely any, any opportunity for people to actually go on internet looking for what this profession is, unless and until you have some interest in it.
No, it's really amazing. We are blessed to have you, Ketan, talking, and I believe that's where this whole interaction will be something that is make you happy also to have shared this to the digital forum.
Definitely.
And would be a kind of a documentary, documentation, I would call it, so that people can at least get some tenets of this profession,
Yeah.
Interesting, challenging, very challenging, some mysterious
Yeah.
dimensions as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
any kind of experience that you want to share where you felt like, yes, I am a captain and I'm feeling proud of it. Is that something uh, that it comes to your mind?
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling proud of it even now as we speak.
Wonderful,
That
solid.
I've been in command of ship, which is definitely is something which is a unique feeling, a unique experience in a way. Although there are many like me, thousands and thousands of people who are captains, and all of them no less than me, if not better. Um, and the thing of pride comes when you are put to sea, and uh, although there is somebody else who is the owner of the ship, somebody else who is the charter of the ship, somebody else who is the owner of the cargo, at that point in time, at that instant, when you are at sea, there is nobody else other than you, and you are put in charge of something, an asset which costs millions of dollars,
Mm,
cargo which also costs even more in millions of dollars, 30 odd lives, which are, or 30 odd souls whose responsibility you bear, their well-being, their productivity, their working relationships, and their welfare. Everything is your responsibility. So it's a huge responsibility, which if you put it on paper, it's a humongous responsibility. But
mm.
as the time wears, uh, you don't get the same feeling every day.
Right, right. I think it's very humble of you to be, shouldering that kind of responsibility, not only of the organization, but the whole asset and the final call. Always, it's at the person who is in the command, right? Goes this side, that
Yeah.
side. It's all you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. It is. It is. After all, there are situations when nobody can help you. Um, uh, Help you in the sense, if there is a situation on the ship, like for example, you often seen or heard of fires. You
Hmm.
often seen or heard of emergencies, medical emergencies, injuries. There's not going to be any doctor there. There's not going to be any fire brigade there. There is not going to be any external help coming to you
Mm.
because you're at sea. You're just not physically accessible to anybody, and
Wonderful.
there are certain decisions which you have to take on your own. Although there may be people who you'll be consulting. Okay,
Mm.
you call up somebody in the owner's office, or should I do this? Should I do that? But eventually, it is your call. It is your decision that would be mattering.
True, true, true. So, just a question comes to my mind. So it must be a rigorous training, on-job experience, all those dimensions. But uh, how much of it eventually is a gut or intuition against all technology, all the training, skills, experience that comes together. So, is there any kind of a boundary where you say, no, no, this is on gut?
As these things happen, the gut feeling comes into play when uh, situations are not going as per normal, how they are anticipated, uh, how how you would like them to go. Uh, it can be anything from some kind of a breakdown, uh, and you're in the middle of nowhere, or possibly coming close to some landmass, which obviously coming close to a landmass when you're at sea is not a very good sign. It's not a very thing that any mariner would look forward to.
Oh,
So at that point in time, you need to sort of feel the situation, make an assessment, and at times you feel, no, this is not the right thing to do. It has happened to me once when similar incident had happened, that there was some kind of a breakdown, and we had to stop in the middle of the sea. But we were surrounded by islands, and the depth of the ocean was reasonable enough so that we could drop anchor. But
okay,
something was bothering me whether I should do it or not, because once you drop anchor, then you know that you're not going to drift. You're not going to go onto the landmass and then be
right.
stranded on the landmass, which we call it as going aground.
Uh,
And fortunately for me, remaining adrift helped, because it was those particular islands were owned by some ex-country, I would not like to name them,
Oh, okay.
and infringing their borders would have made
Big
me
losses.
liable, legally liable, and the ship would have been arrested.
Ah, right.
So
My goodness.
these kind of things.
I'm just trying to imagine in real life you have, taking example of an entrepreneur in real life where he or she has got a ship like a business or entrepreneurship again,
Yeah,
that he or she is selling in the waters of real life situations.
yeah,
But here, if I take that simile, this is completely in a sea where you know nothing about what will happen in the next, right? Uh, every wave that is coming in is uh, putting some different type of thought or a
yeah,
challenge
yeah, yeah,
or insight. Uh,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
do you feel kind of always be on the toes as you are living that life?
yeah, yeah. What this is a part of our training actually. We are taught to. The term they use is called chronic unease.
Oh,
And this is a kind of training that is provided to us. We are encouraged to be chronically at unease.
oh,
It doesn't sound very positive, but
no,
it
it is
actually is
interesting.
something. It means that you are basically supposed to be on your toes or on your nails. Any change of sound, any change of vibration on the ship should trigger some kind of an impulse within you and tell you that something is not right. And so you tend to be a little on edge when you're at sea, whenever there are situations which demand your attention, and then if you ignore can lead to bigger problems. So this definitely forms part of the training. What was the other question, Nishish?
Yeah, I think I was trying to sum this up, saying that the alertness, I think, to be on the toes
Yeah,
is extremely critical. And if you are being trained on through this, I think it is amazing. Another question that was coming to my mind is that being on such a state of alert continuously, 24 hours, maybe 365 days or portion of it, whenever you are on the shore, uh, does it give you a different kind of a experience, like you're slowed down or something of that sort?
yeah. Well, this is something which all mariners look forward to. But just adding up to what we were discussing
True.
previously,
Yes.
uh, uh, apart from the unease part, apart from the chronic unease part, every mariner has an anticipation
Hmm.
of things to come,
Okay.
of what is going to be tomorrow, like what is going to be 1 week from now. That anticipation, if you're only as good as how your anticipation is sometimes.
Oh,
We have a lot of checklists, we have a lot of procedures which tell you what to do, when to do, how to do. But it is your anticipation of a particular event that is going to happen,
oh,
a port call that is going to happen, that will tell you how good you are or how not so good you are in anticipation of things. So that is from where that chronic unease also would come to any mariner naturally.
okay.
Yeah. Speaking of when you're ashore, well, everybody looks forward to being on vacation. We are probably the only kind of people who look forward to not getting paid. And how that
Okay.
means is that when you're ashore, you're not getting paid, obviously, because you're paid for the time that you're spending at home. You're already being paid for it at sea.
Right.
But in reality, how it works out is that you you go to sea, you make a living, and then the time comes when you don't want to make a living anymore. You just want to go home, and that's
Absolutely.
it. And you come home, and then you do what? And then you do nothing. Uh, if you have something to do, it's always good. I pursue things like horse riding whenever I get a chance.
Superb.
I do yoga. And then you got other activities. If you have social activities, it always helps,
Right.
because that is something we always miss when we are at sea.
So it's interesting. I believe you said it that you go for making a living, and there is definitely a portion where you have passion driving you. You have that chronic alertness, unease, as you
Unease.
said,
Yeah.
which drives you. And having done that, which is a great, I would say, I would use a word called as sacrifice, if I may use that,
Yeah.
for
Surely.
making a living. If you just simplistically look at it that way,
Yeah.
uh, and then you want to have a peace,
Yeah.
giving back to your family and your own. I
Yeah.
think everything is at the stake when you are on the ship.
Yes. Yes. At stake, your preparation to be away from home. That uh, that itself is a big thing. Your preparation of your family, that you are not going to be here for a long time. That is also a big thing. And that is not something which is experienced by, I mean, it can be experienced occasionally, but not on the regular basis. Here it's a regular basis that this guy comes and goes. When he comes, he's here, and then when he goes, he's not here. And he's not going to be here for whatever that can happen, that might happen here, good or bad. Well, there are instances when there is um, some good news at home and you can't come there for celebration.
True.
There is some bad news at home and you probably can't come on time. And you have to take both, and that is a sacrifice that one has to be ready for. And it's a lot easier said than done.
It is indeed, indeed, and that speaks more between the words than what you were expressing. And
Yeah,
salute to those definitely.
yeah,
So indeed, it's a Hatke profession as I look at it
yeah,
completely.
yeah,
Now, I have two portions of the question. One is that when you landed on the ship first time on the ship, what was in your mind and what did that young Ketan saw in reality?
yeah.
Uh, so that is something that I want to ask. Second question I'll ask maybe later. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Uh, well, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I was told stories. We were given training. We were given training 3 months prior us joining ships, which is we typically call it as a pre-sea training. So that's a training before you go on the ship. But that is typically theoretical training. There is very little in practice. So you can possibly not imagine. I was told that I was going on an oil tanker. And at that point in time, I was working for, I was selected for by an oil major company and an American oil major. And it was a matter of great pride for me to be selected by them. And they told me that this is a 150,000 tonner oil tanker. So I did not know what to make out of that figure. So I said, okay, fine. And then you're going to go and join the vessel in Valparaiso in Chile. Now, this is
Okay.
1992, and I had never been inside of an aircraft. I'd never been away from India ever. Forget being on a ship. So to travel all the way up to Chile, to reach there, middle of the night, and then we had to finally, when I reached the port where the ship was, it was in Valparaiso. It was in somewhere in the night time, and the ship was at a distance away because of a very big ship. They can't come into port, at least
Right.
not in that port at that point in time. So we had to take a boat and reach there. The boatman, who could barely speak English, he told me that you're going to go take 40 minutes to reach the ship. I said, all right, fine. Then I reached the ship. He woke me up because I'd fallen asleep. And he said, okay, there's the ship. Okay, go, 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 go. Take the bag and go. So I stepped outside the boat and I saw this huge black mass, because the ship's color was black, black mass spanning from one end to the other end. And I did not know what to make out of it. And that is that moment. I mean, after that, I've been on several ships, but that particular moment is engraved in my memory as something which is overwhelming. You go on the ship and you again see something which you've never seen before. It is fortunate for somebody who meets there on the ship, whom you can get along with, or whom you can actually, at that stage, at that young stage, whom you can make friends with. And so it's very important to have a good interpersonal skill to be able to survive well on the ship. Because you don't know anybody, and next ship you go again, you don't know anybody, and it goes on and on.
Wonderful. I think that's wonderful to hear the experience as a young Ketan. The second portion of the thought was that as a captain, what do you remember as the best decision that you've taken, or something that you feel proud about, and that wow moment as a captain?
Wow. The success of our profession is measured in terms of nobody ever hearing your achievements or failures.
Oh my goodness.
The,
Okay.
the successful captain is the one who conducts the voyage in a very uneventful manner.
Oh.
Because there are 90,000 ships, approximately 90,000 ships. That's what I read somewhere on the internet. Nobody keeps a track. 90,000 ships at sea, which perform more than 95% of the world's trade. And we don't get to hear any incident on a regular basis. Otherwise, the news, the manner in which the media is active in today's times, we would be hearing of news every other day. Every other day there would be breaking news, but we don't hear. So, which means that all those captains and all those people who are supporting this industry, they really know what they're doing.
I think I got the message, like all the moments as a captain, I believe, are satisfying. Whatever decisions you've taken or anybody takes matter so hugely, and that can become a news in itself.
Yeah, yeah,
So being uneventful
yeah.
is what is
It's the target.
is a target.
Yeah, yeah.
So nicely put. Now talking about various types of, I'm going to make it generic, things that you see as different portions of being on the ship. I mean, there could be cargo, there could be onshore, offshore, there could be part of engineering team. There could be exploration. Some mishap happens, and then somebody comes as an assessor. So, what are the different things happening, either back end at onshore, or at the front end where things are there? Beyond what is selling, which is uneventful.
Yeah. Beyond sailing, well, as a matter of fact, everything should be uneventful.
True.
Unfortunately, things don't happen that way. Yeah, majority of the work that happens in shipping, in terms of planning, in terms of getting the cargo, in terms of uh, keeping the ship up to date, in terms of keeping the ship provided with all the services, with all the supplies, with the people, with all the necessary instructions, is happening from ashore. So all those people who are, since I've been there from on the other side, so sitting ashore and then giving certain advices to the ship or arranging things for the ship, they all happen ashore. And things like it all starts with being in a ship owner's office. Typically, we hear of shipping company. A shipping company, what all can it mean? A shipping company can mean that you're a ship owner. It can mean that you're a ship manager. It can mean that you're a ship charterer. It can also mean that you're a ship broker. It can mean that you're just a commercial operator. You just take a ship on charter. On charter meaning basically on hire, and then operating in that ship in the open market, or we can say spot market, or the time charter market. And there is, I do not want to go too much into jargon,
That's
otherwise
fine. That's fine.
it can get, yeah.
Good, good.
The Also, there are things which people who provide services to the ship, like port agent. Now, ship goes from one port to another port. Now, what happens when the ship leaves the port? The ship can't leave the port without the port authorities actually telling the ship that, okay, fine, you are cleared to sail. Now, who is the person who organizes all the activities of the ship in one port? He's the port agent. He's the person or an entity appointed by the ship owner or the charterer to make sure that the ship gets all the stuff that it requires and that the ship is able to do its business in port, which can mean legal compliance, which can mean commercial compliance, which can mean safety compliance, environmental compliance, all these things. All this gamut of all activities happen by the aid of having such a person there. Similarly, at the other end, there is a person who's receiving the ship, who's taking the ship into the port. And he organizes that, okay, things like, okay, you need food. Okay, he's the one who probably can organize food. You need some people to change. You need maybe 4 guys are going in, 4 guys are coming in on the ship. He is the one who will organize that. You have people who could come to provide you some technical services, like some workshops. Things are not things requiring repair, maintenances, which are beyond ship staff's capability. Probably he's one of those people who would be organizing it. So this industry ashore is probably 4 times bigger than what is at sea.
Okay.
Because there are so many people on one ship. There are so many people who get involved with that one particular ship's activities by various departments. There are situations which there are industries like insurance industry, shipping insurance, which is
big industry,
a totally different industry by itself. I mean, insurance per se started with shipping back in 1700th century, but it is something which even mariners are very hear of at a very rare chance. I mean, we hope nobody hears of insurance when you're on the ship, because that means that something is not done right. But it's a big industry by itself. And there could be others. We could just go on and on about it.
Wonderful. I think, the point definitely was that behind every ship, if we see a ship sailing, apart from 30 people on the board, an engineering team, and as well as front ending individuals to really own the tour decision, there's a huge amount of complex mechanism that operates to make it go for that particular ride, and start it, land it, and exchange of materials and lives. I would give that's amazing and phenomenal. I would say it's a pretty complex kind of a business to be in.
Yeah, of course. It is as complex as any other business, I would say. It is not more or less complex. The only thing is that it's an international game. It's a game which is impacting several other industries. Although by itself, shipping is a derived demand. It is not something because we don't manufacture anything. We just move goods from one place to other place. We carry out the trade. It is you can say one of the spinal fluid of the global economy. It keeps things moving. You stop shipping, the economy will probably suffer a lot.
Yeah, but it is very humbly put. You are the blood veins which actually takes blood and energy and messages across, right? It's amazing. Wonderful. So coming to something that has happened maybe 4 months back, we're talking about suddenly getting impacted by pandemic. Many businesses got disturbed. Most of the businesses got disturbed. There is a lull. So in your kind of a business or industry, what's the scene now? Ships are not sailing or something of that sort?
No, ships are sailing. The problem is that when the lockdown got imposed, it came in all of a sudden. It came in all of a sudden globally. And what happens when a person goes on the ship? He goes there with a certain mind frame that I have to do 3 months, I have to do 4 months, and I'll come back after that time. So many times it happens that you are looking forward to a time when you will finish your tenure and go back home.
Come back, yeah.
And in my case, and in many other people's world over, their cases, it happened that the lockdown got imposed suddenly. Suddenly, people who were supposed to travel, you travel, the ships don't necessarily come to India. They are at some port, then you get down at that port, and then you take the airline, and then you come to India. Orly Airline stopped operation at that time. So you can't move. Then the fear gripped that anybody who is coming on the ship might be positive. You have to look at everybody with suspicion. Even people who have business with the ship. I mean, there are people you just can't do without people coming on the ship. There are people like pilots who are local pilots who actually help maneuver the ship to get the ship into the berth and away from the berth.
Right.
They have to come on the ship. Now you have to create a system which will help them to come on the ship, and then you not being afraid of whether they are infected or not. More than us being afraid, they are equally afraid. So like the situation was ashore, it was there on the ship. Then we have services, food, water. We had to take everything with so much caution that we'll not get infected by food, by water. People told me at that time, oh, you're on the ship. Oh, very good. Just be there. Because that's the safest place.
What a way to look at it.
But I said to them that, okay, fine, but even I have family. Now I'm more worried. What's happening with my family? True. And I'm sure thousands of people who would be worried for their family, that I need to be home with my family in such crisis situation. Because it was a crisis situation as such. And I do not know whether it is a matter of great pride or a thing to handle, but we were unfortunately at that point in time trading in China. And that fear psychosis prevailed so heavily. So I stopped telling friends and family that we are trading in China. I told them the names of some different ports which would not really matter and they would not really know about things, but I did not want them to get worried that we are trading in China. China is a big country and they also have their set of precautions which they had taken at their end. So it's a situation where fear prevailed, and because of fear, even now, a lot of activities are not starting up. And same thing happened with shipping. So some ships did not get business because many of the productions or many of the raw materials which were required for certain productions, they were not in demand. That was the first time in, I think, a very, very long time. I do not remember how long, but oil prices fell below zero.
Yes.
And that was something which was nobody would have probably imagined that oil prices would go down to less than zero.
It's a great impact on the economy, I believe, international economy. And if the ships are still running, and it's, the word lockdown is a pretty strong word. Yeah. But being locked down either on the ship by itself or somewhere on the shore that you're not part of even the ship, not that they're let you going, taking you in because you are a stranger there.
Yes, yes.
So it's a pretty difficult experience.
Oh yes, yes. There have been several such mariners who were stuck neither on the ship nor at home. They were stuck intermittently somewhere in between. And they had to spend weeks and months waiting to hear from either ends, getting in touch with their respective countries' embassies and consulates to be able to reach their home and or even to get some sort of aid, a place to stay, a place to where they can be safe. These were really, really important events which actually changed the perception of how things are to be handled in future. And people are still are working on how such situations, if they reoccur, how they will be handled in future.
Right, right. We talk about normal. I believe your normal is nothing abnormal in shipping. But where do you see that new normal going for shipping as such? Do you see some changes, paradigm changes happening in shipping?
Because of the COVID situation, yes. There would definitely be, at least for the foreseeable future, we definitely see that there is going to be more sacrifice involved for a mariner to be at sea. And the reason why I say that is because going ashore or being on a shore leave is one of the privileges which is taken for granted.
Okay.
And that cannot be taken for granted anymore.
My
At
goodness.
least not till the time the fear subsides reasonably for people on the ship to feel comfortable that, okay, if we are, let's say we are in Singapore, let's say we are in any place in Japan, in Europe, that we can safely go ashore and come back without testing positive. That's the thing which is definitely going to be a major sacrifice for the mariners.
It's actually, I was thinking, when you are on a ship, there is a eagerness to touch the ground, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
everybody is just eager. So I thought only the visa could be a bottleneck or the reason that you need to have a permission to go. But this is beyond that, right?
This is beyond that. Yes, it's not just the visa or the permit, but it's the feeling of that. Okay, fine. That I'll go ashore for 3-4 hours. I'll probably have a lunch ashore or dinner ashore, and come back to get some fresh air and touch the land and see some few locals here and there. Maybe watch a movie and then come back with a fresh mind to work.
Right.
But even that thing may be a little difficult.
Yeah. So great. One question that was coming to my mind, being always on the alert in this profession. Where do you get that peace? How do you get that, your capacitor discharged, your mind kind of at ease? Do you see meditation or spiritual aspect comes into picture or
It is
something?
encouraged. It is definitely encouraged. Many of the psychologists who are employed by various shipping companies uh, in the industry, they do encourage such activities, physical exercise, meditation. Uh, Unfortunately, what happens is that it is not always possible to do it on the ship for all the ranks, because there are some ranks which are more busy than the other ones. Some which work only during the day, and some are watchkeepers. Watchkeepers meaning they work on watches, which is a 4-hour shift, and you got to be after every 8 hours you have to be on watch again for 4 hours. So a person who is keeping a 12 to 4 watch in the morning and or rather in the afternoon and in the night, he doesn't have actually time to call. What do you say? The evening time. The evening time for him could probably be the time for him to sleep.
Okay.
And there are people who are in senior ranks who don't keep watches, like people like me who don't keep watches, but who are all the time on thinking mode, or who are all the time on the alert, or who are all the time wanting an opportunity to relax. Perhaps the time when we actually look forward to relax is when we are at sea.
Oh, it's
We are
reverse.
in the on a long ocean passage when we've got plenty of days of sailing. Those are
Oh,
the days when and the weather is rough. You anticipate nothing going wrong.
my God.
You try to sneak out some time that, okay, fine, this is the time that I can be at leisure.
I just remember one of the renowned actors, I would name him, प्रशांत दामले said
Yes.
that मी जेव्हा स्टेजवरती असतो तेव्हा मी रिलॅक्स होतो. So I think
Yeah.
I see that kind of a similar thought you are expressing. Uh, just talking about stability of mind as well as the force of the thought. I can sense that the individuals are absolutely on alert, and thought is the only power that runs them, right? So, do you find in like-minded people around you who are in selling that as a very peculiar and extremely powerful acumen that you have built, uh, which is unique for your profession, which is power, thought, stability, focus? Is that something that you find that like that?
Yes. The uh, uh, the effects of that is that when we are on the ship, the thought process that is on all the time With that attention to detail comes micromanagement.
Mm-hmm.
And it at times that people start behaving in a manner that they look at every small thing, and every small thing that goes wrong becomes a big thing in their eyes.
Okay.
So they kind of lose power to ignore things going wrong, because every small thing that goes wrong can possibly lead to a bigger thing. That is how the thought process gets developed.
Yeah, you become
So
like a
when you come
lens.
home,
Mm.
yes, when you come home, anything that goes wrong, even in the kitchen, you tend to start to interfere with what your wife does, and then she's not very happy with that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so eventually your mind goes to different engine also. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good, good. Just thinking further, as we were talking about meditation focus, and you mentioned it actually, 30 people on the board, not only people, you said the word called as souls. So did you have, have you
Yes.
come across any spiritual or some mystique kind of, I'm not going to say any uh, dangerous, but kind of experience on the ship where it was beyond obvious. I mean, it was like miraculous, something of that sort you experienced.
Yes. Miraculous. Yes, we've had miraculous escapes. Is how I would like to put it. 10 years ago, 2007, 2008, this thing of sea piracy had started, and it had taken the marine world by storm. People were scared to go out to sea because it was a direct threat to the ship and to life. And during those instances, ships who would trade in areas which were at that point in time, or even today, called as high risk areas, people would pray that we don't run into such situations. Of course, we had at that point in time, and even now, armed guards, which
Yeah,
were put, three of them, which were put with arms and ammunition on board. But that does not guarantee your absolute safety.
success. Yeah.
So there have been instances when when we are navigating a ship, when we see on the radar a blip, and that blip keeps on following you,
Oh my God.
and we keep wondering who is following me, who is following me. It has happened on one or two occasions that
It
we
follows.
were actually followed by a pirate boat,
Right.
and they are obviously boats with very high speed, and
Oh,
they are on a different mission altogether. And you just hope and pray that you
true.
escape it somehow. And uh, God willing, we've always escaped it.
Wonderful. Circling back, actually, we were discussing as a future thing that you want to do is definitely give back in the form of training individuals, inspiring individuals about this career. So, any thoughts on that, Ketan, you want to say?
Yeah. What I would definitely like to give back to the industry is to be able to inculcate or to be able to train people into understanding this expanse of the profession when they are beginning their careers.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficulties that I faced beginning the career, or the difficulties that I faced even uh, moving from ship to shore and then back again on the ship,
Mm-hmm.
these uh, transition points, uh, they are filled with a lot of uncertainties, and that uncertainty happens because of lack of knowledge. You don't know what to expect, and even if you know what to expect, you only know very little, because the knowledge on the ship is totally different from the knowledge ashore.
Mm.
And since I have the benefit of having contemporary knowledge of being from shore to the ship, back again on the ship, it makes, I think I have a little little on the edge, or little additional uh, uh,
Right.
uh, thing to be able to give back to all those individuals who desire to know.
Superb.
And that is how my thought process works at this point.
Superb. I think it's a great gesture to be able to not only give knowledge but experience and training in this space. Something that is not known, sometimes unknown, sometimes wrongly known, sometimes people keep guessing. So great, Ketan. I believe it's wonderful, insightful, intriguing to talk to you, Ketan, about your profession.
Absolutely, absolutely great, Shirish. You've been so kind to be able to interview me. Uh, I've been doing this for a long time, as in by work, but hardly any people pay much attention to what the other guy is doing. And thank you very much. I'm indeed very grateful to you.
It's wonderful. Actually, it is definitely extremely satisfying and even learning for me. Because if we don't know, we just have to just go ahead, extend your hand and understand, learn, and that's the whole
Absolutely.
motive of understanding other professions, the challenges, and giving it back to entrepreneurs. That's exactly what is the purpose of this HATKE platform.
Absolutely. That's a very, very great thought. Great thought indeed, Shirish. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So, thanks to you to have spare time, and it was wonderful. We definitely wish you a great success in your personal as well as professional life. Uh, Say beyond captain, whatever you desire to become, to be, that should be with you. And the gesture of giving back, we wish you a great success for your training institute to come up whenever you wish. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Shirish.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you very much indeed.
Thanks.
बिजनेस कोई भी हो, सक्सेस की नींव हम रखते हैं। बुलंदियों को छूने की आपके अरमानों की उम्मीद जगाती जोत है, हर सपनों का हम स्रोत है। सही स्ट्रेटेजी, परफेक्ट डिसीजन मेकिंग और बिजनेस ग्रोथ के लिए हम आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आपकी स्वप्न पूर्ति करते हैं। स्त्रोत कंसल्टेक, सिनर्जाइजिंग ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन।